Hi everyone, my presentation is about the research on the topic MVC design patterns. My agenda is introduction, what is MVC, family of design patterns and implementation of MVC with a simple example and the frameworks used in the GUI and the web and advantages and disadvantages of MVC and bibliographs. Introduction. Why to focus on MVC architecture? The reason is that to learn more in detail about web development and to avoid dependency as it is a separation concern and the code can be reused, and parallel development as it is separate model many developers and hence the output will be on time. And why software design patterns? This is because it is a solution to commonly occurring problem. Design pattern is not finished design, but it is a transformed code. OOPS generally shows the relationship between the class and objects without specifying final objects involved. Why should programmer care about design patterns? Because to speed up the development process, to provide tested proven paradigms, and it improves the code readability for developers who are familiar with the pattern. What is MVC? MVC is a design pattern for the architecture of web application. It is widely adopted pattern across many languages and implementation framework whose purpose is to achieve a clean separation between the three components model, view and controller. Model encapsulates the application state and the view renders the models and the controller handles the user interface. These are the families of the design patterns. WebGet based user interface. This is common way for building application with many graphical elements as provided by many integrated environments. In this, the programmer will arrange set of predefined user interface widgets on the form and writes a code which will handle all the logic on the windows or the forms. Data displaying, user input, calculations, domain model all occur in the same class. No separation between the domain and user interaction. Benefits are simplicity, consistency and efficiency, and it is used for the small applications. MVC patterns. Here we will discuss about web MVC patterns. It is a separation from the presentation for web application in three distinct components. That is, model stores the data, view generates HTML layout and controller handles user input. Let's talk about an example of a user who wants to visit a book website to find a book. Here the controller invokes the business logic to get the list of books and the model initializes or instantiates the list of books which passes to the view for rendering the page. MVV patterns. Here in MVVC, view and control are not distinct but are merged in one single view component. Here we talk about application model. In Smalltalk 80s model or pattern, we have a drawback that in financial report, if the limit is not in the given limit, given framework or given brackets, then it should the value should be coming in the red, but that problem was not solved or was not designed in the Smalltalk. So to overcome that, the MVVM pattern is introduced with additional features. Here the MVVM pattern separates domain from presentation in 4 modules which are responsible like store and manage data, display data, handle user input and handle view state. The main difference in the model pattern is the collaboration between the application model and the model. Application model observes the model in order to notify the view with the changed data. It also modifies model data and calls method when necessary. The example here is a colored text field in the financial model which I spoke a while ago. Here there are two properties like result view and result color. Result view will return a number and result color will return a number, and they are to the same property of refer to the same property of the result value. Application model observes the model and updates the properties with changed result value. View in turn observes the application model properties and updates the representation of the values with changes. MVP is in MVP, the domain is separated from the presentation logic in three models. That is, model handles the domain data, view handles the user input and user interface rendering, and presenter synchronizes and supervises between view and model by direct access to the component. The core application behavior is in the presenter and not in the model as it is as in the previous model. View component is kept simple. Presenter has direct access to the view to supervise and modify the widget when necessary. Here let's take an example of a user who wants to edit the age of a person in his address book, and he puts a limit or a condition that ages between 1 to 20 are considered and the rest are not considered, and it should throw an error if it is above 120. The model maintains the data entity of the contact data. View observes the contact properties and renders for editing. When the user updates the age, corresponding model properties should be updated. View triggers the presenter to check the age criteria. The presenter analyzes the age value and command view to update the age if it is valid or show error message if it is invalid age. Then let's go to passive view. Separates a domain from the presentation logic in three modules. Model handles the domain data, view provides the representation of the data, presenter handles user synchronization, and view state management. The advantage here is that it is used for automated testing, which is difficult in the GUI. Here the model refers to the domain for the business logic, and view has getter and setter and event delegation logic, and presenter handles user input, invokes business logic, and updates the view with new data and has all the synchronizing logic. Let's speak about the address book and age to be edited. Here the model is restricted to the domain. User opens a contact. Presenter retrieves the contact entry from the model and updates the text field on the view with contact detail. When the user updates the age field, the presenter is triggered. The presenter analyzes the data and updates the view via direct calls. It commands view to show or hide the error message and set the correct state or save the button. The domain entity will updated only when the user clicks the save button to finish the editing. Presentation abstraction control. Here it separates the interactive systems in three components. Abstraction component retrieves and processes the data. Presentation component formats the visual and audio presentation of data, and control component handles the things such as flow of control and communication between the other two components. Implementation of MVC in J2EE. Here the model uses separating the business logic and is represented by Java beans, and the view is a presentation layer functionality, and controller is used as an intermediate layer. The request goes to the Java servlet, and the Java servlet, from Java servlet it goes to the controller. In here in this model it can have one or more controller, but each controller can have a separate function, and it can have many models, and there may be it can have many models, but the controller can take the simplified view presentation and maps it to the appropriate model and gives the response to the view. And from the view, the response is going to the servlet, and it will give to the response. The controller here, the controller servlets is the master servlet. Request goes to the controller servlet, which retrieves necessary model objects. and the model objects can have interaction with the worker beans or the database, and from the model object it goes to the controller servlet, and from the controller servlet it will go to the GSP, and the GSP will put the response to the control server, and control server in turn will put it to the browser and it gives the response. Application of design patterns. Here any game has three functionalities, that is game world simulation. Game world simulation is nothing but it defines rules of games, both in sense of explicitly defined rules and player conscious obeying rules and implicit rules. So this game world simulation is called a model, and the game world visualization is the view which renders the views, and interaction with the human is considered as the controller. Here in this, the model does not depend on the view, which means that the game simulates can run completely on its own without any further need of visualization. On the other hand, view needs to somehow refer to the model in order to render the game object. The controller commands the views to model to provide response to the user input. Then we are building a game in COCAS 2D game engine. This engine supports 2D Spirit graphics and integrates 2D rigid body physics engine. It is available in various platforms and it is built on the Coco platform. Coco framework. It is designed for reusability, and the core of COCAS 2D architecture is presented by two categories: the view, that is view has CC scene, CC layer, CC spirit, and the controller has the CC director, CC event, dispatcher, etc. And here we talk about a user handling the input. The delegation can be used by the CC layer to formulate the user input. Further, the user defines a controller type class, that is from the controller layer it goes to the touch delegates. Touch delegates identifies them and sends their coordinates to the current state. The current game state handles the touch according to the current context. It could request the model to determine whether the touch position coincides with the same car that is selected already, and alternatively, if the game is in the driving mode, the touch could result in the car monitoring it could result in the car moving in the requested direction. Finally, from here it will go to this, and it will check the car is in moving state or it is asking for the change of direction. Then it will go to the control layer and gives the output. These are the GUI frameworks. This is the framework used in the medicine field, and these are the other GUI frameworks which are commonly used in the web applications. And these are the web frameworks, and these are the advantages and disadvantages of web application or MVC platforms. The first advantage is multiple view support. Here, due to separation of model from the view, the user interface can display multiple views for same data. Change accommodation. Sometimes it happens that the changes should be incorporated. So, since the model does not depend on the view, the changing of the font or the color is very easy. Since it is a separation concern, allows the reuse of data or business logic whenever required. Developer specialization and focus. Developers can focus on the module which they are working, and parallel development, which means the work can be done parallelly because they are all different modules and each person can do their development work. And disadvantages is complex. It is complex design patterns, and it is cost to update. frequently, and since the view and controller are closely related, modification is difficult. Inefficiency of data access in the view and need multiple programmers. These are the bibliography. Thanks everybody.